Got on some crappie out here yesterday, so I thought we'd come back here today and kind of check things out a little bit. See what's going on. Water looks good today. Looks like it's dropped down a little bit more. Don't see anybody fishing at the moment. Looks like a couple of guys back there probably were back here fishing. Got some activity with seagulls here, which is good. They're feeding. So I think we'll have a chance to catch a crappie here. So I'm going to start off with what I started with yesterday, which is just a little hand-tied jig. I tied up 3 or 4 this morning, so this is just what I'm just going to start with because it happens to be tied up, and it's not really, it's basically a white chicken feather with a red thread and a black head, and that will catch fish, but it's not my preferred color. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start with this real quick like and just see if we got any activity out there. Here's what this little jig looks like coming through the water. Kind of a little cockeyed right there. Let's see what's going on. Whoa. What happened right there? Oh, there we go. There we go. So there it is coming through the water. It's like a little chicken feather. And really, I'm not a keen fan of the white and the red. I mean, it works. It's pretty good all around color. But it's what I got tied on. It looks good in water. You can see that chicken, that movement on that chicken feather. I don't know if that's showing up right there or not. Trying to get that camera as close to it as we can. But let's go ahead and fling it out here real quick like. We got calm conditions out here today compared to yesterday. See how yesterday I would have already caught a yellow bass by now. There were so many out there, so that's kind of a bad sign already that there may not be any yellow bass out there. We'll ease her back nice and slow here. There might be a big old crappie laying out there today. There may not be nothing out there today. Things change in a hurry. You know, right here yesterday at dark, birds were in here feeding real heavily, and we had a ton of yellow bass in here. But today may be totally different. The birds don't seem to be nearly as active. They're still active out there. There was a bite right there. Or either I hit that rock, one or the other, but it felt like a bite though. Yeah, we got something right on here. I think it's going to be a little yellow bass probably. That's a good sign though, that we got some yellow bass out here. Don't feel like a crappie though. It's going to be a little yellow bass. Picking up where we left off yesterday, right there with a little yellow bass on that little white chicken feather jig. Little old fella. I guess that's, I don't know if that's a yellow bass or not. I guess it is. Okay. There you go, buddy. Look at that. He's hypnotized. Watch this. There you go. Boy, that water's cold. I tell you what, they're kind of lethargic out in this cold water like this. This water's cold, boy. So there's our first fish of the day. See if we can't get another one here. Step right down here for a second. Got this wind moving in on us now, folks. Fling it out here. out there in that wind. That's the advantage of my little weighted float right here, is that it'll get out there in that wind a little bit. Don't do this out here, no. Well, we got one here. I think we got another little yellow bass. Most likely. We'll find out here. It almost feels a little bit like a crappie, but not very big though. So this will be our second fish of the day. Yeah, just another yellow bass. So we got a few yellow bass out there, so we got a chance for a crappie to be out there. Anytime you got a yellow bass out there, you got a chance for a crappie to be out there. They're in here feeding on these shad. Now yesterday, they were in here a lot thicker. The seagulls were in here thicker, and I was getting a lot more bites from these yellow bass. And eventually, later in the day, I managed to catch 3 crappie that roamed in here and hung out for a minute. But so far today, it's a little earlier in the day as well. It seems a little like not as really, the fish aren't as active. That water is just cold. Look how cold that water is, boy. They're just very lethargic in that cold water. Okay, we've gone over to our big pole here. This is my big 9-foot ugly stick. Got a little bit bigger float on it. I can really heave it out there. Got one of my little hand-tied jigs on there. Trying to avoid these boulders out there. I'm a little deeper on this setup. I think I hit that stump right there. Probably. Yeah, there's not stumps, but there's some rocks right there. So I'm kind of lucky I didn't get hung up right there. Oh, them rocks. Alright, we got one. Pretty sure we got a crappie, folks. Yeah, that's going to be a crappie. Yeah, been working it here for a little while and finally got on one. Boy, he feels pretty good size. Now, this is my bigger pole with that bigger float. And that was way out there. I've got this wind blowing from my back so I can heave this thing out there. It's a nice heavy fish. If this is a crappie, it's going to be a good one right here, folks. It may not be a crappie, but let's hope it is here. I'm going to go real easy with him because he feels extra big right here. Yeah, it's a big old crappie. Look at that. A big old crappie, folks. Look at that size on that big crappie. He looks like he's barely hooked on the outside of the jaw right there. Man, he's a big one. Barely hooked right there. Here he comes. There he is. That right there is what we've been looking for, friends. That right there. Oh my goodness, that's about like what we caught yesterday. We got it on him. Got him here with my freshly tied, little freshly tied jig there. Went to my 9-foot ugly stick. You see that float up there? See how far we are from that float? There's the jig. You see that float out there? We're about 8 feet deep right here. About 8 feet deep. So it's kind of a difficult technique to sling out there with 8 feet of line underneath that float. But this is the reward we got for here. A big old beautiful slab of white crappie here. Count the dorsal fins. 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 5 to 6. Right there on that big, nice white crappie right here. Just broke my line off right there. We're gonna have to retie. That's all right. No big deal. here. Alright, we'll get him turned loose here. So I don't have my measuring stick with me, but you can see, folks, that is a probably 13, I'd guess. Easy. Look how fat we are here. I'm sure she's full of eggs, or could be full of shad. Either way, we're going to come down here a little bit, turn her loose, kind of away from that little hole right there. There we go, big beautiful crappie right here on this February day, folks. Don't get no better than this. There you go, little buddy. Get on back out there. There she goes. Alright, I have to retie my jig right here. I broke my line off right there trying to show off that crappie, but that's alright, no big deal. We'll just retie back here and we'll be ready to go. We got a lot of light left here, so that's a good sign. We got one crappie with about a few hours of light left, maybe 3 hours of light left, really. We're going to keep working this little deeper pole. Again, it's about a 9-foot ugly stick here. This old Shimano Sonora 4000A. Kind of a mid-range reel, nothing too special. Kind of a budget reel, really, but it's a little bit older reel. This works pretty good for this, what I'm doing here, because I need a lot of line on that spool to fling it way out there. So for just a fairly durable budget old reel, this thing's been pretty good. I don't necessarily recommend anybody go out and look for it and buy it, but if you come across one at a yard sale or thrift store for a few bucks, it might be worth picking up. Alright, well, we've gone over to our shorter pole now. Got this one set up at about, I don't know, about 6.5 feet deep, I guess. This old Fluger Present here, but this little jig I tied up this morning is kind of a tricolor jig. It's got a little dark green, a little kind of yellowish color feather, and a little black feather there as well. So just trying to give some contrast. Not much on the black feather, and really not that much feather at all, really. But you'd be surprised, it really doesn't take all that much material. You know, you got that kind of pinkish head coming through the water. So I don't know, we'll have to see how this one does. This one looks a little different than my normal ones. I was just kind of goofing around with this one a little bit. But I'm sure it'll catch a crappie though. No doubt about it. There's one guy. Oh, I saw the float go under there. Oh boy, it feels like a hog too. Drag is a little loose, but that's okay. Main thing at this stage, since we're out there about 50 or 60 yards, is to go easy with them, because you can't really hog them in. For some reason, they'll almost always barely be hooked when you're fishing like this, because you're not pulling that hook up into them, you're pulling it out of their mouth basically. And this is a hog, folks. We have a hog here, and we are going easy with our hog number 2 right here. Here we go, here we go. Yeah, that's another hog right there. I shallowed up just a little bit, so I'm about 7.5 or 8 feet under that float now. Whew, so you see that float up there? Coming down here, that's how deep I'm fishing right there. We got another slab. That's 2 slabs today, folks. Two slabs for today. Look at that on that little green jig. He's actually hooked pretty good. Definitely a slab though, for sure. No doubt about it. Slab on that one. So there we go, folks. Got him on that little green jig right there. Crappie number 2 today. There we go, look at that, folks. Crappie number 2 today. Got a big nice crappie right here, folks. Check him out, check him out. Let's take him down here and turn him loose away from the school a little bit. That's the second one we've caught out of that same little spot. So we got kind of a little school of them. That's a big fat black crappie. Look at the belly on that crappie right there, folks. Look at the belly on that big crappie right there, folks. That is a big fat mama right there, I think. She's either been eating a lot of fish or she's getting ready to have a spawn here before long. I would dunk this old camera down in the water, but this Hero 10, GoPro Hero 10 here, it's got kind of a reputation for not liking the underwater, even though it's an underwater camera. But we're down here kind of close to the water, where you can see this big boy in his habitat there, looking all kind of beautiful. Let's turn him loose here. There he goes. There he goes.